What's up, guys? Welcome back to the weekly scraps. UFC Vegas 75, right? 75?
I'm terrible with the numbers at this point.
Can't keep up. Well, we're back with a brand new episode sponsored by Nerd Focus. Thank you guys for powering the podcast. If you don't know what Nerd Focus is, go check them out. It's a new think drink. I like that name, the think drink. Nootropic energy drink. What's better than that?
I'm not even sponsored by them, but I like them. The sugar-free one's my favorite.
I actually like that one too. I don't mind the carbs though, sometimes.
That's fair.
But let's get into it. I'm back. Obviously, we had the Hall of Fame. No big deal. Cage Fury, to my surprise, well, I kind of ruined the surprise because I kind of knew about it.
That was cool. That was a really cool experience, honestly.
It was a fun event.
Yeah.
Kelvin was supposed to come to the dinner, him and his plus one. And then I called him and I realized he's just started a new job.
Yeah.
I was like, he was like, yeah, I'm going to be there. And I go, wait, you just started your job. Wait, how are you going to pull this? He goes, I just thought about that. I was like, yeah, all right, so I'm going to pivot. So I hit up Ray. I asked him when he was coming in town, and he told me he was going to figure out some things with the ride. And somehow he managed to get Steve.
That was me.
To drive him.
That's it. I was the plus one.
So they came down. It was a cool event, man. Got to share it with some special people. Obviously, the whole staff at Cage Fury, which was pretty dope. Because those were the guys that were there pretty much since the beginning when I fought there in, I think, 2012 at Resorts Casino.
See, that's pretty crazy. I didn't even know they were around that long.
Yeah, on the boardwalk. Mm-hmm. I got video footage of this, like doing vlogs and stuff. I remember editing a music video for my brother back then, Troy, when he was rapping.
Cool to see Troy down there.
Yeah, so it was cool. Him and Kelvin came out the next day. Came a little late, but they got there. So we had the dinner. We had the induction to the Hall of Fame. First ever. So what they're going to do is, every time they do it, it's going to be this new piece from Spivak Jewelry, which is pretty dope, man. 14 karat gold, Cuban link, couple carats. I ain't going to tell you how much. I got to get this thing in short ASAP.
I don't know what any of that stuff means, but it looks
nice
beautiful.
Piece.
Yeah, no, it actually looks
nice
really
piece.
cool.
Yeah, so it was cool. They showed like a little montage clip kind of thing of some of my past few fights with them and whatnot, and they let me talk. I wasn't expecting to talk. I thought they were just going to say, hey, guys, this is the dinner. This is what we're doing. Shake some hands, kiss some babies, go home, get ready to coach. And so that was a cool little experience. And then they did it again the next night, but this time they showed the whole video for the entire arena, and I thought that was pretty cool. And it was on UFC Fight Pass.
Yeah. No,
so
it was really cool.
Yeah, I got a lot of people that messaged me about it and just saying congrats. So that was a cool experience. You know, for me, it's like the whole journey has been a lot of ups and downs. In the beginning, of course, it was mostly ups. The time for the sport was a little bit different in terms of the skill set. Now it's a lot steeper with competition. Like, you fight for Cage Fury, you were fighting some hammers. And even back then, like, I was fighting some of the toughest guys around in the Northeast region, which typically, if you can survive that circuit, you pretty much got into the UFC, you know? So I fought a lot of good guys, very green. I got my licks, but I carved my name out on the East Coast before getting to the UFC. So it was a very emotional thing. I had to fight back in tears a little bit. I was
he was crying. Don't listen to it. You didn't fight him back. He was crying.
I fought them back.
No.
I was like, get back in there. And they got back in. So it was a cool experience, man. And I just hope for you guys and everyone else that's competing to kind of get a similar experience with the Cage Fury. I do feel like fighting for them, I was able to get that big show feel on the regional level. So that when I went up, I was like, man, with these bright lights, yeah, they're a little bit brighter. I'm not going to lie. But it did feel like I was there already. So that was a cool part about it. And if there was any experience I could give guys, it's like, man, fight for this type of show because this is what it's going to feel like. But on top of that, it's going to be like times 5 in terms of the magnitude, the arena, the cameras, the press, the media. We didn't do all of that on a regional circuit, especially back then. But now they've stepped their game up, Fight Pass, the whole 9. And now they're at the Hard Rock Hotel.
Yeah, that was a beautiful venue.
Which is a step up from Borgata where I fought. So they're continuing to do bigger and better things. And we might even partner up one day. We'll see.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You might see Aljamain, the vice president of Cage Fury.
Holy, that'd be terrifying.
Might be like Ray Sefo. The president that fights and might beat you up for your paycheck. So with that being said, we had 3 guys fight. Damian Nelson lost via split decision. Dennis Bazookia won via second round rear naked choke. and then and via backpacking.
Oh yeah,
He cut the corner beautifully.
Come on.
Dude, I was like a little kid. I was like, oh, so proud to see that.
No, especially like seeing him like start from just where he started to see how much he's developed. Like that is really awesome to see. Like
that's a tricky move to hit.
That's not easy. Took his back right off it, got the choke in. I mean, I think he really broke the guy down. It was a really good fight. I think at this point, like I think he's earned the shot at the UFC for a while, honestly. But I think this kind of almost solidifies it.
If you don't get it, I don't know what else going on.
No, because I think he has the style that the UFC loves. He's a fucking knockout artist, can get submissions clearly. I think he just has he's the right package, and he got a million Albanians that I didn't even know existed following him. That's what I'm saying. I think the UFC would be doing themselves a disservice without signing this guy.
Yeah, I think they will. I think it's more. We've talked behind the scenes. Like I think there's a reason why they haven't given you the call yet, and it was like let's slow down with that and let's see what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So hopefully good things happen after this one, and he's gonna get that call up, and then an emotional comeback for me, and obviously for Charlie.
Yeah.
Coming back like that from a brutal knockout in a fight that he was dominating on the Contender Series, and then gets over anxious, runs in and makes one reckless mistake and gets cracked, put to sleep. It was a bad knockout. He had a lot of symptoms for a very long time.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things because I've been there before where it almost feels like, your career might potentially be done before it even really got started. Thankfully, he was able to have this return against a guy with some good experience.
Yeah, definitely. Had a lot of experience.
It was a weird
awkward
style.
Not very awkward. Look, I said he was like a lightweight Tim Elliott. Like no offense to Tim Elliott, actually, but it's just very awkward to deal with. But again, I think Charlie's just a fucking hammer, And it's funny too. Like even when you were talking about it, like this is the upside of the gym. There's always just guys who have a lot more experience that have already been there. So like a guy like Charlie, he got knocked out, put in a pretty shitty situation. But he can always like talk to you and be like, not even like just how did you feel and like what did you do to come back? Because I'm pretty sure you fought like a couple months after the knockout against Brett Johns. Like but you could
I took
argue
some time off.
Yeah,
I
no,
took
smart.
some much needed time off.
I think Charlie did the same thing. He said this. He almost had to, but he did the same thing. And I think I came back in a big way. I mean, first round knockout to win like that, you could see like right after the fight how emotional he was, like how much that meant to him. So just how could you not be happy for a guy like that?
See, stuff like that gets me going, man. It motivates me, gets me emotional. Cause I'm like, when you're in the trenches, man, you know what you sacrifice, you know what you give to the sport, you know what can be taken away from you, and it's like the light at the end of the tunnel, and then someone just cuts your Achilles. Mm-hmm. You just can't walk anymore. You're just done right there in the tracks. So congrats to him, man. That was a vicious knockout. Threw that right hand. The kid fighting with his hands down, threw a kick. Right hand just lines him up, left hook. Right on the chin, puts him out, and then he followed up with a vicious ground and pound shot that was just like I don't even know if we even needed to do that, but I at that point, the cannibal just saw red.
Charlie's a dangerous man.
Or yellow.
That's I
just
think
yellow.
Again, same thing. I think the exact fight style the UFC wants. I'm telling you, I think he is another guy at 155. Like you want a guy like him. Trust me, he will deliver an exciting fight no matter what. So I think that's not even unfortunately. That's just the only way he can do it. So
yeah. What else can you ask for in a fight? So there was a lot of good fights for Cage Fury, and we had a good showing. Damian lost a split decision, nothing to hang his head about. I talked about it a little bit with him. I'm like, dude, Marab's been here before. I've been here before, but at the big show, 2 split decisions in a row. I know the other one was a finish, and then this one was a split. But it's not really a skill set issue.
That's the issue with Damian. I think it's just he almost always just looks like he's probably technically the better guy. For him, I think it's just one little mind shift. Dude, just go. Like you're the guy. Like even in that fight, I think he had a couple situations where he probably could have put the guy away, or just at least at the bare minimum, really just gone after him a little more. And I think it would have made clear to the judges where they couldn't even make an argument for the be guy.
Yeah, and I talked to him about that. I was like, I think you just need to turn up the volume just a little bit
more. That's it.
And you're gonna be surprised. And one of the things I feel we both have, I don't know if it's a Caribbean thing, the way a lot of Caribbeans like raise their kids. Like I think this is truly a real thing, and I have a lot of friends from the Caribbean region, Jamaicans, Haitians. Like we all tend to have similar upbringings where the parents are just very harsh, tough love. But from my experience, that tough love that doesn't come with a whole lot of motivation.
Okay.
or support. It's more in the sense of, why are you acting like an idiot?
It's not constructive.
There's nothing positive about reinforcing your ability or your intelligence. It's always more demeaning than anything, and almost like making fun of you. So for me, I felt I dealt with a lot of insecurities coming up through elementary school, middle school, high school, just the way my parents, really my dad, would handle us. And it makes you feel a little insignificant in regards to what you can do, you know, calling me stupid like multiple times, to the point where I really start to believe like, yo, maybe I'm just not that smart.
Jesus.
And I can feel for him in that, and I said to him, I was like, I feel like you're not trusting what you can do the same way I wasn't trusting what I could do. And then I got to that point where eventually I just got over that hump where I finally became an All-American. Came back even after losing in the first round my senior year, and then coming back and winning 3 straight matches against a returning All-American in the very first round. And it's all this mental block that you got to kind of get over, and believing that you are good enough. And that's when I kind of separated myself more from my family, especially my dad, and started becoming my own man and learning from other people that were more of a father figure. So I feel like for him, I was like, dude, we see so much potential in you
100%.
that I think you're just not seeing and believing yet. But when you get there, I'm telling you, you're going to be like, man, I did not know I was this freaking good. I was
100%.
like, yeah, that's exactly what you're going to say. Like, yo, I'm fucking nice.
Yeah.
And it's a weird way of saying it. It almost comes off cocky or arrogant. But, dude, it is what it is.
No, 100%.
If you're good, you're fucking good. You should be able to go out there and say that.
I think, well, and again, I think.
In a reasonable way,
No,
of
of
course.
course. But I think, especially for all of us who train with him, you see some of the stuff he does, you're like, dude, like, what the, do 10% of that. Like, go do that, and some of the stuff he is capable of, I think, is phenomenal. I just think you're exactly like what you're saying. Like, he has to believe he can actually do that.
Yeah.
But I think, to be fair, I think there's a lot of guys at the gym that are like that. It's funny because, I remember Longo always would say that about you specifically.
I was going to say that, but I was like, I hate bringing it
I don't
back
want
to me.
No, but that's why I'll do it. But that's why, for Longo, to this day, is still saying, like, man, like, you guys got to see what Aljo can do. Like, really, like, even in these championship winning performances, he's like, dude, like, nah, you're still not really seeing, like, what I'm seeing. So,
yeah, I even said, like, he gave up that third round, and I was like, I felt like I was watching myself for a brief second. Like, I get to a point where I get comfortable, and then I take my foot off the gas. And before, I used to be that kid who would just go forward, but then I would get caught by making mistakes, stupid mistakes, and lose these big moments, these big opportunities. And I kind of dial back and become a little bit more reserved in my approach, where I'll do a lot more in training than I would do in a competition.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where he is right now. And once he flips that switch, I think good things are going to happen. And I told him, I was like, dude, I don't like when people compare themselves to other people. You're your own man.
100%.
But I said to him, look at Dennis's and Charlie's performance. You train with those guys.
Yeah. And you spar
And how
them,
do you do with those guys?
Great with those guys. Like,
and I go, what the fuck is the difference?
No, you're 100% right.
And then I'm like, obviously, he's down a little bit. I'm like, I'm saying this to motivate you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want you to get discouraged and feel like there's no way that you could possibly get there. Dude, I've seen people in worse situations. Brian Kelleher, perfect example, who lost so many fights on the regional circuit. Somehow, some way, he wins like 5 or 6 in a row, knocks off all the top prospects in like the Northeast region, then gets the call up. And then gets a submission in his first fight in the UFC. So for him, I feel like he's in a very similar spot. And that's the name of the game, man. It's a lot more mental than it is physical. I think people tend to forget that. Even similar to like for me, in this approach to my next fight, it's the mental approach to everything. Like, and this is like giving away a little bit of the sauce, but I've said this multiple times. As long as I feel good, dude, I feel like, yeah, you could try to will yourself into feeling good, but there's a part of it where it becomes, yeah, the physical preparation can only be so much, and then the mental is what takes over, and it sells you to the next level. And I think that's what that fight is for me.
Yeah.
And not even just that one, just any fight. So with that being said, man, congrats to those guys. I think Damian more so learned than lost. And I think there's a lot more for him to gain out of that situation. It just depends on how he looks at it, depends on how he flips it, and goes out there and just make those mental adjustments.
No, I agree with that 100%. I gotta run out of here soon, so let's
okay,
talk about
yeah, let's do
fights.
this. So we got the main event, Cannonier versus Marvin Vettor. That was a barn burner of a fight.
God.
I don't know what was going on with that southpaw thing that Cannonier was doing and then kept getting touched up.
Yeah.
I was like, the fight's about to be over if he keeps going back to southpaw. And every time I'm like, yep, this is like the beginning of the end. But then he survived. And then he came back in the second round, and the tides turned quickly.
Holy crap, that second round changed everything. I mean, exactly what you were saying, too. Every time he went southpaw, it looks like he was getting hurt. I thought Vettori was, even though Vettori was getting hit, he was landing clean shots, and it looked like, Cannonier, it looked like he was getting impacted worse than Vettori was, despite Vittori's face. I mean, it was crazy to watch. I just thought, man, when Cannonier hit him, like, that was horrifying. I'm like, holy shit. Like, I just think, unfortunately, Vettori, stylistically, is going to be, Cannonier is stylistically a tough matchup for Vettori because he can just thump.
And his arms are so long.
And he's just awkward. Like, even the stance switching just made no sense to me. I'm like, it's like almost like, like the guy at the gym that's like super awkward. He's sometimes way tougher to deal with than the guy who's just doing the traditional things correctly, like perfectly. You're just like, okay, like I've seen this a million times. And you see this, you're like, dude, why is this guy changing? Like, I'm just going to kick him right now. You're like, will that work? Like, what the hell's going on? Like, you're almost more confused how this guy's thought process is.
Even like that kid Duncan who fought later in the night. I don't know what I was watching.
I'll tell you, the man's walking backwards. Dude.
With his ass turned to him.
This guy's either a genius or a complete buffoon. I really don't know.
Come get these cheeks. Come get these cheeks.
Why does he always say these things? It's crazy.
He turned his butt to him.
No, he did.
And then he started backing it up to him. I was like, what's going on right now?
It's on Petrosian to just thump him for that, though. Like, no man's turning his butt at me. That's crazy.
And then looking at me with that side eye, like.
That was wild.
Bart?
I was either like, again, if he won, he would have looked brilliant, though, I guess. So
he almost finished him in that third round.
Crazy.
He hurt him bad with that spinning elbow. I was like, what was that?
Yeah, I'm telling you, they had a decent amount of fun fights on there.
But what is next for Cannonier, though? That's the tough part.
Strickland?
Again, didn't they fight already? They fought already.
Oh, they did fight already. I guess. All right, then.
It's a fun division because they at least all have fought each other for the most part.
That is
he beat
interesting.
Strickland.
Wait. Oh, he did beat Strickland. Oh, that was close. That was all right.
Beat Brunson, Strickland, now Vettori.
How about Vettori fights Strickland? Cannonier, he's in that. 39 years old. He's in a weird spot because I thought his fight with Adesanya, respectfully, was just awful. Like it
was. And then you got Whitaker, the one guy who just beats everybody.
So it looks like it's 1, 2, and 3 like that. So I don't know, what can Cannonier do? I don't know. Maybe.
He's in a good spot. It doesn't hurt.
No. I mean, look, again, I thought that was the best performance of his life. So, I mean, at 39 years old, to have a performance like that, again, phenomenal. I just don't know. He's in that tough spot. Like, he's almost in that Robert Whitaker spot, technically, but one step below that. So, he's in an interesting spot there.
Does Adesanya have a fight yet, though?
I am assuming no. I mean,
he's got the winner of Whitaker versus
Duplessis, allegedly.
Duplessis.
I guess we'll see how that goes, right? No, but Adesanya,
he doesn't have anything lined up right now.
I thought the right thing to do was just for him to wait out, have Pereira fight.
They should have put him on the Boston card.
They should have put him on the Boston card. Oh, that's crazy.
There's no one for him to fight, though. Not yet.
Yeah, right now. Unless they wanted to make that Duplessis fight before the Whitaker fight just to give him somebody. I don't know how Duplessis even wins any of these fights, but good for him.
Yeah, and the other thing about Cannonier, his ground and pound is vicious, man.
Holy crap. It looked like honestly, just the takedowns alone are terrifying, not for the control, but the guy looks like he's going to just kill you from top. Like, you don't really, that's the cool part, too. Like, not many guys have that old school ground and pound, like, like the Tito Ortiz.
Coleman.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't see that very often anymore, but, like, it's like you don't have to worry about Cannonier, passing and holding you. No, you got to worry about this guy thumping you on the ground. That's actually kind of terrifying.
The thump.
Just fucking elbowing you like that. I'm like, Vettori, get up, man. I can't watch this anymore.
But Vettori is a dog, man.
He's a dog.
Staying there, like most guys would be like, let me just cover up and then take a couple of these and then when the ref jumps in, just make a face.
Yeah, like, oh, why'd you stop it?
No, I was there.
But he was fighting. I mean, you got to respect that. I mean, holy shit.
He was fully focused for that. Nerd focus.
All right.
I gave the wink. Ding.
I like that. It's a good ad.
But yeah, shout out to Vettori for that, man, because, I mean, he did everything he could. I know he's probably going to be a little bummed out about it because now he puts himself a little bit further back in the rankings, but he's young. He's 29, right?
That is crazy, yeah.
He's got some time.
Yeah, and again, I don't know. He could still, look, he's got a lot of options. Like, he could end up going to 205. You never really know.
This is what I say, respectfully. If Bisping could get a shot just by hanging around, and I say this respectfully because it's not like he was the highest ranked guy, but he was always right there. So a guy like Vettor, if he could be right there, sometimes that doorway opens up and you can slide right in that thing. Yeah, just a little bit of lube.
What is this guy saying?
And you're good to go.
You're right.
Good to go.
I don't know why that analogy had to be like that, but no, you're right. I mean, again, I think of Glover Teixeira fighting John Jones in what was like 2013, and then a decade later fighting for the belt and winning it. I'm like, that's kind of nuts, you know? Like, there's a lot of guys I think you can
pull some inspiration from, like motivation, not get too down on yourself.
No, exactly.
Because it's easy at that level. You're kind of like, well, what do I do now?
Yeah. Then again, even
I'm just fighting the fight.
Well, I was gonna say, look,
kinda.
Like, there's guys like Jim Miller who I fucking love.
I don't even get it,
dude. The man has 800 UFC fights. I don't know, like the guy, and he's just a little fire hydrant that can just keep going. I remember listening to him on Rogan, and I think one of my favorite things he ever says is like, man, I think I'm just built like this. I don't know, like I just can fight. I'll be back the next week. I'm fine, no problems. Like dude, and you see his wars, like you gotta respect it. And again,
Poirier fight, the Nate Diaz fight, the Cowboy Cerrone fight.
But again, listening to him talk, it sounds like he's still got all his faculties. Like I don't know him behind the scenes, but again, it sounds like despite everything, it's just weird. He might be right. He is just built different. I don't know how else to say it. Like some
it's
guys,
kind of like Merab, man.
Same thing. Merab
running up mountains with a cast on his hand
doesn't make any sense.
Why you? Just doesn't feel smart.
Just
but
built again.
Just built different.
Well, even like you're talking about, like the man was working not an easy construction job, like a construction job, and then just training at night, like no problem, training hard at night. Like dude, that is exhausting. Like that, you got to be built or wired different, you know.
And Merab was giving people the works back then too.
That was pretty rough.
Till this day. Tsarukyan versus Silva, great fight.
Good fight.
It was a short notice for Silva, right? Just kind of stepping in.
I had no idea.
Or he couldn't find nobody to fight him.
I think that's what they were saying with Tsarukyan. Like they couldn't find a guy that was like, you know, highly ranked that was willing to accept the fight, so they gave him someone on the outside. I don't know if any of that's true or not, or they're built whatever. But it was again, Silva, a little brick shit house, good fight. I mean, clearly had his moments. I mean, this could have easily gone the other way.
I'm gonna say moment.
His moment, yeah, whatever. No.
And I knew going into that was his best way of winning would be to catch Tsarukyan being really reckless. And the one thing about Tsarukyan that I like about Arman, that lead leg kick that he uses, he's so busy with that switch leg, lead leg, jab heavy, and then he just steps in, pop, touches, or he cracks in with that switch kick. But it's not even a lot of a wind up. It's just a back leg comes up, lead leg just whips. Mm-hmm. And then he gets you to the liver every single time, then gets you to respect it, or he comes up top, and then he shoots in, and the guy can grapple his ass off.
He can clearly grapple his ass. But again, like even you're saying, those kicks are like wild, man. He's like throwing axe kicks. He's fucking throwing he throws everything, and you're right, not very telegraphed. I don't know how hard. I mean, first of all, he just looks
quick,
like,
man.
Yeah, they look quick, and I feel like if you don't see that coming, it's gonna hurt no matter what. So, regardless, I just think the guy. The guy is a contender. Even that Islam fight, the first fight he had, I thought was competitive as hell. Some of the most fun grappling I've seen in a fight.
So this is where the Dagestani crowd is going to get pissed at me. When you see that on a guy in his debut fight, and he takes Islam the distance, arguably wins a round, and in other rounds you can make an argument that, hey man, he took this on short notice.
No, competitive as hell.
Very competitive. A guy that can grapple.
Wrestle his ass off. Looks like he knows some jiu-jitsu.
And not just regular jiu-jitsu. Can grapple like wrestling.
Can wrestle.
And meet wrestling with wrestling.
Yeah.
So when I bring this to people and I say, hey, I'm not trying to be biased here. What I'm saying to you is, if you bring someone with the opposite skill set, myself versus Henry Cejudo, a guy who can stop the takedowns, a guy who can actually get the takedowns, you have a different fight. You have a fight.
100%.
He had a real fight with Islam Makhachev.
Absolutely. Again,
Short notice. I think it was like 2 weeks notice against, again, the top guy at the time, or one of the top ranked contenders at the time. First fight in the UFC 2 debut. That's kind of wild for. I hope that's not loud. It's gonna go ding 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 ding.
Oh shit.
And so with that being said, I feel like that's why I felt the Dariush fight would have been intriguing with
absolutely
with Islam.
100%. No, but now you hear people, Oliveira put away Beneil.
That means he
Islam would have beat him even faster. I'm like, what the fuck does that?
So what about Volkanovski? I guess he's just like, you can't do MMA math. Styles make fights.
100%. Beneil, I still think would have been an interesting matchup for 100%. Islam, but fucking Charles Oliveira, Charlie Olives.
Charles goes for it, and in that fight versus the one with him, it just looked very different. And I'm not saying that Oliveira comes in this time and wins.
No,
but I think if he comes in with that mindset,
with that attitude,
it's a different type of fight.
And I think
I think the aura of Khabib and the Dagestani style and the pressure and the wrestling definitely sunk into his head a little bit. And maybe the strength of schedule and being as active as he was.
Well, I was going to say that
You have to
alone.
look at all that. To ignore all of that is ignorant. Mm-hmm. It's very ignorant. You can't just go, well, he stepped in and that was the best Oliveira. I'm like, yes and no.
Yeah.
There's other variables. It's just like basketball. You could be off on one drive down the court, and you could come back and make a pickup, and your teammates could kind of rally for you kind of thing. But in the same sense, there's only one time you get to do that in a fight where if you make one mistake and you get cracked, that could be the fight.
Yeah. No,
so, yeah. It's a good song.
This is a whole song?
I have no idea.
You think they can pick that up on the podcast?
Probably.
We got new laundry here. New washer and dryer. It's pretty big over here.
But with that being said, I think grappler versus grappler in terms of wrestling makes it very, very interesting. So I would like to see that rematch at some point.
Absolutely.
If Islam even sticks around that long. Because I could see him defending a couple times and doing the same things. Could be like, all right, guys, I'm good. I made my money. Peace.
Yeah. And I do think Islam also, I think he's kind of vying for that 170-pound shot at some point too. Like, I don't know how that would go.
I like when he talks shit, man. Not even talk shit. I like when he talks confidently.
Yeah, no, I do like how.
Like, let's go, Islam. Talk that talk.
Maybe it's just like the Dagestani, like matter-of-fact style, but I love that shit. It's like, I'm gonna smash you. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Like, that's just like no question in his mind. It's like, I'm gonna smash this dude. I'm like, all right, that's pretty cool.
Well, Tsarukyan saying the same thing now. I'm gonna smash him.
Yeah, I like Tsarukyan's call out of Chandler. I thought that was a smart move. And again, like, I think he's probably right on that. Is Conor McGregor fighting this man? I'm saying very unlikely if he's not in the USADA pool by, I don't know, like yesterday or whatever the deal was. But so
you see his tweet?
What do you say to
Chandler? If you really believe your fight with Conor is still happening, that's as dumb as your fight IQ. And I was like,
unnecessary.
I'm like, who's writing these tweets?
That's foul. Yeah, guy's not even from this country. Damn.
I'm like, if that's you, that's cold-blooded.
That again, love that fight. I don't know. That fight could go either way. Clearly, Tsarukyan can get chinned. But
it's a fight.
That's a fight. Exactly. That's the deal. But I would love to see. It's kind of what we were always talking about too, like the top lightweights that have been around for years, the Poiriers, the Gaethjes, the Chandlers. Instead of fighting each other, I'd like to see them give one of these young, hungry contenders like a shot. One of the younger, hungry, lower ranked guys.
I agree with that. I think Tsarukyan versus anybody. And then you also look at Tsarukyan versus Frevola on short notice and how that fight went. And I think Frevola's a lot more polished than he was back then and where he is now.
Yeah, and credit to Frevola, too.
And Frevola he can wrestle.
He can wrestle. Like, that's why I don't, like, kind of... It is funny. He wasn't, like, a fucking All-American. He wasn't, like, a D1 stuff. The guy just wrestled.
Traditional American wrestling.
Yeah, and that's huge.
That uses it in a fight.
Absolutely.
Ally Quinta uses it in a fight.
100%.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
He liked to stand and bang.
So is Frevola.
Yeah. So then you got that when he fought Khabib. The thing that annoys me is when the Khabib nut huggers are all like Khabib was playing with him. I'm like, guys, let's be real here. If Khabib could have kept him down, he would have kept him down
1,000%.
and finished the fight.
1,000%. If he could have got a finish, he would have got it. There's no man that's going to stay. I don't care what anyone says. Like,
I'm trying to get ring time. Shut up.
Have
you been in a fight before? What are you talking about?
Nah, it is what it is. But
I'm calm.
Oh, look, and again, I'm a huge Khabib fan. Like,
yes.
Let's be reasonable. Like, all right, everyone should be logical on both sides. All right, Khabib fans, Conor fans, whoever. Everyone can just be fair about it, you know?
Yeah, you could be a very big supporter and still be real.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, dude, what are we even talking about? Like, he got out of all those positions in a technical way. It wasn't like some of these other guys that got taken down. They look like fish out on land that had no idea how to grapple, how to fight Riz, how to knee slide, how to shrimp. That's high-level grappling.
Yeah.
And on short notice. High-level grappling, Tsarukyan versus Islam. Short notice grappling. But at the end of the day, what's the common denominator? Wrestling.
Basic wrestling.
Basic wrestling. So, again, I'm not saying that Al would have beaten him on a full camp. I'm not saying that Tsarukyan would have beaten him on a full camp, but it would have given us a lot more of a competitive fight in the sense of everything being equal, in the sense of preparation. Because then we really don't know.
No, I agree with that.
We really don't know. Guys, I'm not being a hater. We're just calling it how it is. What was the other one? Pat Sabatini, he's back in the win column in a big way. Domination.
No, the ground control is phenomenal. Again, same thing. Good ground and pound, too. Like, that's really cool. You kind of see the cycles of MMA. Like, again, we haven't seen that in a while. Just guys who can take guys down, just beat the fuck out of people. Like,
I was watching Hunter Campbell in the back.
Oh, no.
as he's mounting him, slowly inching up and dropping elbows, and he's just like, oh.
Oh, no, yeah, dude, that's just, you're seeing a guy who cannot defend himself. Like, he's on bottom. That's
Dude,
brutal.
he had his wrist behind his back.
Oh, no. He had the...
And then he was just getting bodied. I'm like, ah.
I thought he was out a couple times in that fight.
I know what that feels like from the top position.
Yeah.
From the top
that was
position.
good. The Dalby Muslim Salikov, that was a fun fight. The one that I thought was fucking brutal was that Manuel Torres, that elbow he landed on Nicholas. Holy
against
shit.
Mota. That's my guy, man. I felt bad for Mota.
I felt bad. Dude, that was a vicious one. That might, yeah, that's one of those.
And he chinned him too, right before that with a nasty
well, that's
hook.
the thing. That's what you got to give the guy credit for. He was not deterred by some of the punches he was eating, because I was like, oh shit, Mota's landing some good shots. He went southpaw all of a sudden, just stepped in with that elbow. I'm like, shit, that was vicious.
Yeah, Mr. Perfect is back. He beat Quinones. Carlos Hernandez versus Bondar. This was a fun fight.
That was fun.
Bondar throws an illegal, blatant knee to the head on a downed opponent. I'm sitting there looking at Carlos, and I'm just like, Carlos, stay down.
Oh, my God.
I've seen this script before. Let me tell you how it ends.
But
he got up and slammed him.
Slammed the man fucking dead. Like, I don't know what... The technical decision I thought was kind of trash. Like, I thought just giving the man the knockout. Like, that was Also, 84 elbows after
with 1 second left on the clock, too,
with
bro.
1 second. I mean, maybe that's what I was going to give the ref credit for. Maybe he was trying to give the guy the full distance. He's like, there's like 10 seconds left. You hear the clapper. But once that man landed like 6 unanswered elbows, I'm like, ref, you got to do something. This is crazy. Like, it's a murder at that point.
The refs yesterday were looking for just violence.
Oh, no, I'm sure.
So what I was saying to you earlier is I felt like because Bondar threw that illegal knee to the head, and guys, let's be honest, it wasn't flush. It grazed the sides of the head. Not saying it didn't cause any damage or impact, but Carlos at least saw it, and he at least was able to turn his head a little bit where it wasn't like where, for me, I'm not looking at all and I just get blasted, completely blindsided. So I almost felt like the ref saw that and was like, well, I'm going to make things even now. And as he's knocked out unconscious, like initially on the slam, anyone with eyeballs can see that man was out cold.
Not dead.
From that headbutt.
I was saying, you're the closest man in the ring, too. Like, you got to be able to see that from a mile away.
He was standing right over him.
He's just like, get up. No, that was wild. Like, come on, buddy. Like, fight back.
What are you looking at?
Like, dude, he's out. No, that's...
Boom. Boom. His arms...
No, you might be right with dude. Once he was out like that, I'm like, I don't even know what they're looking for at that point. I think I was able to yell, he's out, he's out, he's out, he's out like 6 times. I'm like, that's crazy.
I was like, okay, it's even now. Let me stop this fight.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Illegal blow for that. Okay, cool. And then the one with who was it? Ronnie Lawrence versus Argueta. Argueta was on his way to winning that anyway. So let's be honest.
That's tough.
Like I think he would have eventually tapped, but I just think Keith Peterson kind of goofed a little bit. Could have waited a few more seconds. He didn't need to grab his hand.
Oh, yeah, no. But that's, when you do, you should be able to, I don't know, can't you feel like, all right, this guy's still fighting? Like,
I think when he grabbed his hand,
he felt
it looked like he tapped because when he pulled it, I think he pulled back and slapped his body from what I saw, and he thought that was a tap. But it's like, dude, you could see his eyes that he was still there.
Yeah, he's still in there. That sucks.
So I do understand the experience of the refereeing, but I do wonder if they know what it feels like to be in that position where you're fighting to the very last second of consciousness, where you can see. Not saying where it's like behind the cage and it's hard to tell. Then that's like, okay, that's fair. But dude, you're like standing over him. So I'm like, damn. You should be able
to,
You should be able to. So I felt bad, but I do feel like Dominic Cruz said, the only person that gets robbed are the fighters.
Yeah,
no 100%.
No one else gets penalized anything. I mean, look, overall though, I thought for Fight Night card without the big names that people were like, whatever, the card without the big names people were expecting, solid card overall. Like fun fights, good finishes. Next week's main event, I'm pretty hyped for. I think everyone should be.
Yeah, but before we do that, Sandhagen versus Umar. Let's go breakdowns.
Oh wow, already.
So obviously, I think this is a classic striker versus grappler match. But with that being said, Umar can also strike.
Umar's tricky. Like, he looks explosive. He looks like he's still got... I mean, he's undefeated, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got that undefeated
Aren't they all?
attitude. Well, whatever. He's got that... I think right now he almost feels like he's untouchable, which I think makes it a tougher matchup. Like, Sandhagen's almost more... I don't want to say like that, but he's used to... I don't want to say used to losing, but he has lost. Like, I think it's not gonna... I think this other guy almost couldn't even fathom losing, Like, I think that's what makes Umar so dangerous right now. And again,
Sandhagen took the fight.
He took the fight, so he's got to be able to see something, hopefully, that he can capitalize on. I think I love Sandhagen's attitude, where he's like, dude, I think I'm just a fucking guy, and I think I'll fight anybody, and I'll still beat him. I'm like, nah, I think that's the sickest attitude to have as a fight fan. Risky, especially against risky against the guy that, you know, is super low ranked, like the risk to reward. I mean, who knows? We could all be like, he could fucking flying knee the guy in 30 seconds. Everybody like, holy shit, you know, put Sandhagen back into that category of he's that guy. Fucking give him the title, you know, like that he was, I think, just a few fights ago.
But the only thing about the flying knee thing is the way Umar fights. I don't think he's really like a pressure heavy guy, like walking you down like Khabib would do. Khabib will just walk you down, knowing that strikes are going to come. And then he'll do this thing where he just checks, blocks, he'll eat it. Yeah. He'll just keep coming forward until he eventually gets his hands on you, and he'll do that fake. And then he'll just shoot in, head inside, head outside, and get that double leg or single and take you down. Or press you against the cage, then trip you or whatever it was and take you down. With this one, the stance switching of Corey is going to pose a lot of problems for takedown entries. But for some reason, I don't know if Umar necessarily wants to go in and just look for a wrestling match unless he gets clipped. Yeah. I think if he gets clipped, then he's going to be like, okay, now it's time to go to our grappling.
Yeah. No, I think he can. I mean, look, he can clearly.
Five-rounder.
Stand. Oh, that's interesting, too. 5-rounder. That's the only thing that I think could really break down Umar.
You think so? I felt like Sandhagen slowed down against Cheeto, and I don't know if that was because he kept, like, the amount of output he was putting against Cheeto's no output.
Yeah. Well, I thought that was the big thing. I thought he just, even though I thought, you're right, he slowed down. I don't want to say. I thought strategically it was just the right move. Like, you know, you just dominate the first 3 rounds. Like, okay, this motherfucker, I'm just not going to let him touch me the last 2 rounds. I'll just do whatever. I'll footwork, whatever. I'll circle for the next 2 rounds. Like, but I'm going to bank these 3 rounds because I know this guy's a slow starter, which I think is what Sandhagen said. Now, again, you can argue he did the same thing against Jan. Jan was a shorter notice fight, so maybe he will just naturally slow down. But
yeah. And then also Song Yadong.
I
felt like he started to slow down just a little bit as well.
That's possible.
And it's just those guys who just plot forward and that might just look for trying to cut you off and throw haymakers.
Yeah. That might be the tough stylistic. I mean, like a tough style for Sandhagen to deal with. But to his credit, he's definitely fought the better guys. He's definitely fought the higher level guys. Fought 5 rounds before, so I think those factors should go in his favor. Man, that
twice now, right? Cheeto and Song Yadong. TJ. Oh, this is gonna be his 4th main event. Damn.
No, so he's had a good amount of 5-round experience. So, and again, the TJ fight, again, I thought he won too. So yeah, a good amount of 5-round experience. Beat TJ, beat Cheeto, lost to Jan. But again, all good fights. And I think, man, that is a great fight. That is I credit to Sandhagen for even taking that fight.
So if I'm looking at this, I'm Sandhagen, and I'm gonna give you guys my breakdown analysis. Okay, Sandhagen has the great footwork. And if I'm him, I'm going to use my footwork to keep Umar guessing. Probe my jab like Sandhagen normally likes to do. Umar has a really good check right hook that he uses when guys get close and try to rush in. It's kind of similar to Makhachev, I would say, that he used against Oliveira a lot and a lot of previous opponents as well. And I'm looking at that. I'm like, how can I stay long? And Umar, he throws those teeps and back leg push kicks where it's like super go gadget extension, and he'll throw that question mark kick that comes out of nowhere.
Fast,
Couple things. What does Umar's gas tank look like in a 5-round fight? What does it look like when he goes and gets pushed the distance in a 3-round fight? We've never seen that just yet. He's been pretty much in control where he's taking guys down or just cruises standing up and doesn't have to do too much. Now, Sandhagen, I'm looking at it. If I get taken down, I got to create the scramble. I can't let this guy settle on top of me, wrist ride, trap my legs, and just keep me pushed up against the cage or get to my back where he could get to the body lock and just beat me up and keep tripping me and making me work and carrying his weight. If I'm Umar, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to stay on the outside, pick my shots with my kicks, stay long with my jabs, and maybe throw those kicks to the body and then maybe come up top with the question mark kick because he has a great dexterity in both his lead leg from the right-hand side and the conventional side with the left leg. So if I'm him, I'm trying to figure out which way is my best way of attacking. You watch the way Barney Barcelos pressured him and got off a couple of things that he was successful with. Like, didn't land anything substantial, but he had a little bit of success where he was kind of dictating the pace a little bit. If I'm saying, hey, I'm looking at that. I'm looking at the fight with Nate Maness. How did Nate Maness not get submitted? What was he doing that was different? And how can I change things where I'm not just hanging out on my back and being comfortable?
That's a big thing.
And I think that could be the difference.
Yeah.
If I'm Umar, if I take him down, I'm not hanging out in the guard and getting caught with elbows. I'm posturing up the same way Sandhagen did against Cheeto, where Cheeto was starting to rain elbows as soon as he got taken down in that first round. But once Sandhagen postured up, he got his ass off the ground, his head above his, and started raining big shots. He started doing big damage. So I'm looking at it in different ways. Both guys can impose their will, so to speak, and I think that's going to be the deciding factor. With that said, I don't really know who I'm leaning towards. I feel like I kind of have to go towards the wrestler. I think typically do.
Yeah.
So I'm leaning towards Umar in this one, but I would not be surprised if Sandhagen comes up with a great game plan to do damage. And it's not like the 55 with the Dagestani guys. When the Dagestani guys at this weight class, I think when they get to the upper top 5, they're going to run into, which is really just Umar. He's going to run into some guys that can actually grapple and give him some pushback. And then it's going to come down to who has the bigger will to win, especially when you're both wearing the damage. And I think that's what's very important. Like, it's easy to dominate when you're dominating the competition and you're the hammer.
You're supposed to win.
Yes. But when you become the nail a little bit and it gets a little bit uncomfortable, what side of you is going to show? And I'm not saying Umar doesn't have that dog in him, but we haven't seen it. And that's always the beautiful thing about fighting. We love to see when someone gets tested to see how they do in those high-pressure situations. With that said, I'm going towards Umar.
I think, it's funny, I might have to go towards Sandhagen just because I like the guy who's
because you're from Colorado? What kind of bullshit is this?
Holy shit. Are you from Dagestan now?
I'm from Dagestan.
Dude, I got to piss like crazy.
Damn. Wait, let me see. I mean, that was a good one. Let's just do the main event.
Ilya Topuria versus Josh Emmett. Come on. You know I'm going, my Georgian man, Ilya Topuria, I'm going his way.
13-0.
13-0. Look at, no, he fought Bryce at featherweight too. So now come on, that guy's a hammer. I think he should 26, get this done.
Dude. He's 26.
Terrifying. Actually terrifying. 26, young, hungry. I mean, put him in there against any of the contenders. I think he'll do just fine.
I really want to see him against Barbosa. That would have been a fun fight.
Man, that would have been crazy.
That would have been a
fun
Evloev
fight. Oh, there's a lot of good fights. I mean, Josh Emmett coming off that Yair loss.
Oh, he was supposed to fight Evloev too. Damn, and Charles Jourdain. These would have been really fun fights that got canceled.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fun fight too. I don't know. This should be fireworks. Either way, it should be fireworks. I think one guy, no matter what, is getting slept. Dude, I gotta pee so bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, you go ahead, take your piss.
Oh, thank God. Guys, thank you for having me on. Follow me on Teven Weir, whatever.
I'll wrap. And so just let me do this real quick. Boom.
Shout out Nerd Focus.
So for me, I think this fight with Josh Emmett versus Topuria, you got a classic boxer versus boxer. The difference between the boxing, though, is that Topuria tends to go to the body, come upstairs, and he strikes with a lot more volume. Doesn't really kick too much. Josh Emmett, I don't remember him being a guy that kicks too much. And I think that's going to be the difference. Who's going to have the better combinations? Where if Josh Emmett touches you, we know he sits a lot of people down, floors them. The thing with Topuria, he will cripple your body to the part where it just shuts, to the point where it shuts your body down with that liver shot, and then comes upstairs and he just sends guys to the next dimension. And that could be the difference. The volume and the combinations of Topuria versus the just brute power of Josh Emmett. Will Josh Emmett use his grappling at all, use some of the wrestling, press him against the cage, try to wear in Topuria in a 5-round fight? Or will Topuria just be that guy who goes out there, looks for the early finish in the first round, and gets him out of there? 26 years old. He's got the world at his fingertips. And I feel like this is a very winnable fight for him stylistically. And that's what I'm most excited to see. What is Emmett going to do in the sense of making those adjustments to beating a guy like Topuria, who hits hard? He's super fast with his combinations. And yeah, that's really it. Emmett, how old is he? 38 years old. The elder. Emmett's reached 70. And Topuria's reach is 69. So they got a little bit of a reach advantage, but they're both relatively the same height. I think this one's going to be fireworks. I wish I would be able to watch this, but I'm going to actually be at a bachelor party for one of my best friends. So unfortunately, I won't be able to go there to watch. I would have went down and get some training around there as well. But it is what it is. I'm looking forward to this fight. 145 is starting to really heat up with some new faces starting to come into the mix. I think that's what's making this division a lot more fun. We got Yair Rodriguez. And I think the winner of this, mostly for Topuria or even Emmett, if Yair wins, this opens the door right back up for, well, actually it doesn't because he just fought. Yeah, so if Emmett wins and Volkanovski wins, I think it opens the door back up for Emmett to fight for a title again, kind of, maybe, or maybe with one more. Where if Topuria wins, I think he potentially just jumps in there and fights the winner of Yair Rodriguez versus Alexander Volkanovski, unifying the belt. And, of course, you got Brendan Allen right there. You got Max Holloway. I forget who Max is actually fighting, but that's going to be a good one as well, man. There's so many good fights to come that I'm looking forward to, and I can't wait. So let me actually take a look. You got Calvin Kattar there as well. It's been a while. And Holloway is fighting Chang Sung Jong. So, yeah, it's a very interesting time in this division. I wasn't sure if Chang Sung Jong was going to fight again after losing to Volkanovski the way he did. It was pretty dominant and one-sided as it can get. Volkanovski was even starting to feel bad, with the pressure and the beating that he was putting on him. So this is going to be an interesting one. I'm looking forward to seeing this matchup with those guys as well. But Topuria versus Emmett, it's a barn burner, man. That's I think it's guaranteed someone's getting put out. Like, unless they both start to respect the power so much, or one of them is just going to be like, I'm going to bite down on my mouthpiece, and if I connect, I know the fight's over. I think that's what the fight might come down to. Sometimes the game goes like that, and whoever lands that first shot, that first big shot, I think is going to be the one that goes home with the W. So I'm looking forward to that, and I cannot wait. It's going to be fun. Some other fun fights on this card. Neil Magny versus Phil Rowe. Brendan Allen versus Bruno Silva. David Onama versus Gabriel Santos. Amanda Ribas versus Macy Barber. Randy Brown versus Wellington Tumen. Some good ones, man. I'm looking. This is gonna be a fun card, I think. Yes. It's gonna be Trevor Peak. That guy's fun to watch. 8-0, undefeated, 155. Some fun fights, man. Tatsuro Tiara, 13-0, taking on Cledson Rodriguez. So we're going to do more of a breakdown later this week, but for now, we'll leave it at this. I don't want this episode to be way too long. I think we got some good stuff, phenomenal fights coming up. Cannot wait. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, if you like my shit, subscribe to my shit or spin it back. Fist, baby. Thank you to Stephen Lee. Thank you to everybody. Again, Cage Fury, shout out you guys. Much love. Stay blessed. Stay safe, people. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.